I know my parents gave me a good life, a better life probably than they had for themselves. They tell me it all the time. And there really is a part of me that's grateful. I mean, I promise, really I am. But then there's another part of me that's heavy. There's a part of me that's angry. And y'all, there's even a part that's confusing. On this episode of Monica Mentors, we're going to talk about it isn't their story this time. It's my story. About how their love sometimes feels like control. How their rules became louder than their comfort. How being I told you so, it honored them, but it made me feel like I owed them something that I didn't even understand. Honor for me was interrupted as a child because that silence, it didn't come from my point of view. So here I found myself shouting without words and living in the same house, but not necessarily the same truth. Guys, today on this episode of Monica Mentors, we're going to talk about honor interrupted when disobedience began. And we're going to do this from the voice of your children. I am so excited to have my guest here with me today, Shamika Martin. She is going to help me to navigate this precious space. And it is our hope and our prayer that by the time we get to the end of this particular episode, there will be conversations that children, no matter what age you are, can go and have with your parents in love, in respect, and hopefully you'll be in what we like to call your safe space. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Awesome.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for being here. I just have to ask you, what did that feel like? What do you think that those particular words from a child to be able to have their parents to hear that? What do you think about that?
Like it takes you to a different space, right? It's very self-reflecting in that space as well. I didn't think it was going to take me there, but it did, right?
Yeah.
To hear it or think about it from a child's point of view, when we think children don't pay attention to anything, as a very inquisitive child, I paid attention to everything. It's a reflection moment, a heart moment.
Very, very
Kind
hard.
of like, wow.
Didn't it feel like, and just thinking about your expertise and conversations that you have with people, it seems like it was two. It was a hard, H-A-R-D moment, and a heart, H-E-A-R-T moment.
Both, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It invokes some emotions that you don't think that you would feel listening to that point of view, but it's needed. You need to feel it so you can pay attention to it. Absolutely.
Well, and I think one of the things that we don't often recognize, and I think sometimes is misunderstood. And listen, you know how we say I can only talk about my people.
Right.
So I'm going to say in the Black culture.
Right.
I think sometimes we don't truly understand that anger that's not dealt with erupts.
Oh, my God, it does. Like a volcano.
Yeah,
It does.
it brews.
It does.
And I think that's a place where a lot of our homes have started to, we don't like this word, disintegrate.
Right. Yeah.
And it's the love that you plant, but if it grows with this resentment, oh my goodness, you find kids in grown-up bodies
Absolutely.
still holding on to that resentment.
Yes.
And so these kids may even find themselves in battles with the very you parents who raised them with hope and intention. So I want to get into this a little bit. And again, we're going to talk about this strictly from the standpoint of the child's point of view. And so children, I believe, they reflect on their feelings immediately being misunderstood or either they feel burdened by their feelings. And so tell me what you think about a couple of these phrases. And you can say yes or no. I definitely, a couple of them we might want to discuss a little bit because I think these are pivotal points for parents, especially nowadays. So I got a couple of comments from some kids. I had to go down because, I'm old now, and some of these things I probably have forgotten about myself. But when you think about parents who give their kids everything, but then sometimes it feels like I couldn't be myself inside of the life that they built for me. Oh, huge. That thing, that stung for me.
Yeah, for sure.
That stung. Yeah. Because I think that so many parents do that. They want what's the best for their children. But did they forget about their children and what they wanted and who they were while they were developing that life?
Yeah.
What do you think about that particular comment?
That's huge because it's true. And I've heard so many conversations on it nowadays that it's scary. I gave you everything I thought you wanted, but it was nothing that you needed. And so for a child in that scenario, I could, kind of hear, I had designer everything. I had the most expensive of everything. I had more than my classmates, more than my cousins, more than my other siblings, more than whatever. But I wasn't taught, the foundation of that. Nobody told me what it was like when I became an adult and it's time for me to try to get those things. They didn't tell me that it wasn't easy. Because I had what everybody else wanted, and now I'm in a place where I have to try to get those things, and I have no clue. And I kind of feel like it's their fault. I feel like they owe me.
Okay, so that brings up an important point. So do you think in some ways parents unintentionally, this word drives me crazy, but it's in my head as I was listening to you, everybody talk about these baddies that we're raising, this culture that seems to go more so after money than valuing even spirituality.
Correct.
When you get to the root of those things, do you think that's what it is? Do you think that the parents didn't teach them? They told them to go after the world, but they didn't teach them how to value the world.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. I don't think that, and sometimes we failed as parents to teach them what really mattered, because material things pass away.
Yeah.
Things break down, explode, whittle, rot, right? Material things pass away. And I think we put, as a kid, if you grew up where that was what the main point was, now, you never knew what your parents had to do to get it, whether it was legal, illegal, whatever it was. But your focus was, as a kid, my focus was on materialism, if that's how my life was, right? And here I am now, 30 or 40 or 50 years old, and what do?
Yeah.
Because I thought, by the time I turned 30, I was going to have all of the designer stuff my folks had.
Yeah.
And
not knowing they had to work for it.
They had to work hard for it, and they didn't tell me that piece. They didn't tell me the work ethic that was required, and the number of hours that it took, and the sweat and the tears. And I can't figure out, now that I'm 40, can't figure out why don't I have that. And then now I'm 50, and then now I'm 60, and I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul every day and living paycheck to paycheck and living off everybody else around me because my parents never told me I work 20-hour days for you to have the best of the best of the best of the best. And so now what do I do with that? I don't know work ethic because nobody taught me work ethic, and I haven't taught my kids work ethic.
So then with that particular perspective, and the reason I keep going back to this because these are comments I hear from kids as well as adults in general. And so do you think that the culture, do you think it will become harder to break away from this culture? Because I think what we did was, whereas the children may not have realized, listen, I want you to have the things that I didn't have growing up. But now it's like nobody wants to take the time to plant anything.
Right.
It's almost like the seed is there, but they want it to sprout out instantly.
Automatically.
Right. If I start a business today, I want to be a millionaire tomorrow.
Right.
But do you think it's because, like you said, we didn't really take the time to define what it was, from the standpoint of, listen, I know that you deserve this because you're my child. Hear me now. But you didn't earn this just because you were born.
Correct. And there's a difference in that.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, in the space, especially depending on, that parent's upbringing, whether it's, I talk about Generation X all the time because I'm Generation X, but even the boomers that came before us, whatever your upbringing was at that point, I personally think influenced your thought process. If you were raised, in the projects your whole life, and that's all you knew, then that's all you know. And if that's all you've ever wanted to know, and nothing is wrong with that, right?
Because we know some sharp people
Come on now.
that was raised in
Oh my girl,
in
come here, where you get that from?
projects.
Cute. Right.
Right.
Right. And so, but if that's all you ever wanted to know and you made that your world, okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that because you're successful and you have, crawl before you walk. The problem comes in, though, when you didn't teach your children. Here's why. Number one, we're in the projects. Number two, if that's something that you want to do, that's fine. But you don't have to stay in that space and teach them this is what you got to do more and better and different if you want something different. By the same token, let's say, projects is luxury for a lot of people. What if you were raised in the middle of a pasture?
Yeah.
Corn and pink beans and whatever. And that's what you grew up, knowing and hating or whatever that looks like or appreciating. And then you decide, well, I don't want, my daughter to have to break a nail in the fields.
Maybe parents should consider sometimes taking your kids back.
Absolutely.
I watched this comedian, and he was telling the story about how his son is considered bougie. And he was like, he gets so aggravated because that's not the way he was raised. But he never really took his son back. And then when he finally did,
Right.
his son was like, I don't want to be around these people. Wait a minute. What
These
you
are your
mean?
people.
And
Right.
so maybe that's something that parents have isolated their children from and taking them back, seeing how they had to struggle, seeing the process of what they did and how they had to even value how they have the life they have now. And so I know another one that I found that a child said, my parents always tell me they want to break those cycles, but they still are controlling.
Right.
And it says, and so they just do it in softer, quieter ways. And then another child said, I feel guilty for not appreciating my parents more, but I also feel angry that my emotions don't seem to count.
Yeah. That's
That
huge.
one was a big.
Yeah, because that's huge.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, we're coming from the child's point of view, but as a parent, I always have to put that in there. And I'm honest. I tell people I'm a lot of things, but a hypocrite I am not. Right? Are parents perfect? No. We're not meant to be. Do we mess up? Yes. Do we like to say that we mess up? No. But I think in on both sides of that thing, whatever pain we went through and whatever pain the generations went through before us, they want to shield the next generation from that pain. But in shielding from that pain, we covered it up completely. Some of us did, right? So now that here we are, with our children, and then for those of you who are old enough to, or at a place where you're grandparents now, even for your grandkids, right? You don't want them to know anything that happened
Yeah.
in your day, in your mom, and in your kids' day, and that's why grandbabies are spoiled rotten.
Yeah.
And let me not be hypocritical. Whenever my children decide to get married and have my grandbabies, they're going to be spoiled rotten too, right? But you still have to, like you said, to your point, take them back and let them see.
Yeah.
This is why I worked so hard. This is what we had to go through. This is what we had access to, and this is what we did not. No, Google was not around when we were little, okay? Loved the 8-track
Yeah.
in that Mercury Cougar.
I still want another DVD.
When my children see this, they're going to crack up. You know what I mean? So, remember taking the pencil and rolling up that cassette tape,
Absolutely.
right? Take them back and let them see the progress of our people as a whole. Don't shield it from them because, in my opinion, that's the only way that our younger generation now is going to understand, number one, the struggle that our ancestors had to go through and even we had to go through. And then there comes the appreciation. You spoke to... the kid said their feelings don't matter,
Yeah.
right? When in actuality they do, but historically, right, as a people, what we felt didn't matter.
Yeah.
And we struggled as a people, in my opinion, to break that cycle. It was, historically considered a sign of disrespect back then.
Yeah.
way before our times, right? Back in slavery days, for you to have an opinion or voice, you were property,
Yeah.
and that mentality passed itself down. And I don't think we even know that that's where it comes from. So that no, you're a child, you don't have any feelings. That's not true.
Oh no,
Right?
not at all. They're people.
They're people.
Right.
Everybody's built,
Right.
with emotions and feelings in there. So for us to stop that cycle, it's not disrespectful for a kid to come and say, "Mom, I didn't feel right about that." Now, tone decides whether, hey, you're gonna pipe that down. You're gonna say that a
Right.
different way.
Right.
But it is not disrespectful for a child to come and say, "Mom, when you said that hurt my feelings," because they do have feelings. Right?
I think that the reason that so many situations get out of hand is because I think that children sometimes hold so much in, and that typically, if I'm at a point where I want something and you don't let me do it, and all that anger is blocked because I don't feel like you've given me the safe space to be able to constructively have conversations, that I think that's a lot of times where it blows up.
It does.
And I think that's where a lot of those feelings come from. You don't love me, you don't respect me.
Right.
But at the same time, I think that we have to be mindful as a culture that a lot of this we have to undo.
Right.
And I think, because you know how when you go to rehab, it says the first thing you have to do is acknowledge.
Acknowledge the problem. Right.
And I think in some ways, we kind of put the bricks on a situation where we raise kids to feel entitled. We raise them, to wear the best type of tennis shoes. We raise them to go to the best schools.
Yep.
So in a lot of ways, we really have to kind of be a little sympathetic to their feelings because we raise them, here we go, imbalanced. Don't you tell my child what to
Right,
do.
don't touch my child.
Don't touch my child.
Right.
And so what that child internalized, and that is, oh, well, then I have a special space where it's all about me.
It's all about me. Yeah. And I think over the years in our efforts to make our lives as adults better and perpetuating the myth that we're making the kids better as well.
Yeah.
What we used to think was just our counterparts' way of raising their children.
You better say that.
I'm not going to say the phrase,
Even
but
though our ancestors used to raise
their children.
Right.
And we always thought, well, that's what they do.
Right.
We now do that.
Right. Absolutely,
We do that.
No, seriously.
We do that.
Wait, don't skate past that moment. Because seriously, I think as a culture, especially, I'm sorry, as a culture, as mothers, as aunties, we need to take that moment in because it internalizes the conversation when it's like, wait, like some of you guys might not even be thinking, God doggone, that might be where that came from.
That is where it came from.
Yeah, I want my kids to have the stuff now that we make the money, now that we, have more resources. I can give my kids what our ancestors gave their kids.
Right.
But we forgot that our ancestors still gave those kids values. They taught them how to behave. So why do you think, now knowing that, how can we help the children to embrace a conversation with their parents now, having those feelings?
It depends on where you are, right? Because if you're at a point now where you're at the extreme point where the kid is talking to you like an adult, right? Where I can't tell the difference. If I listen to your conversation, I can't tell the difference whether they're talking to an adult or they're talking to you. Your path is going to be a little different. You need some professional intervention on that, right? Because you're too far gone.
Yeah.
But if you're not,
That means counseling, y'all.
Counseling.
Y'all know I say that all the time. Okay.
Counseling.
Go.
Yeah. But if you're not at that point where it needs to be a professional to come in and intervene in that point, then it's a very uncomfortable conversation, but it's a very necessary conversation. And here's an idea. Practice with somebody else that's not your child.
That's good.
Seriously. Nobody has to know. Have a conversation. I'm a middle child. I talked to myself a lot growing up because that's what we had to do to entertain ourselves. Talk to yourself. Hey, I wonder how this is going to sound.
Yeah.
Right? She talked about safe spaces all the time. Parents, maybe you need to get you a safe space with someone that you trust, right, that has kids or does not, whatever, and say, hey, I'm having an issue with this. Let me, run this over. How does that sound? Anything you can give to it? It is okay to say, I don't know. It is not.
Don't skate past that.
Okay.
It is okay,
It's okay.
to say, I don't know.
Because no one knows everything. Absolutely. It is not okay for you to know that you don't know, and you want to accept that you don't know. Right? There's somebody out there who knows a lot more than you do. I try to be very knowledgeable on most subjects. Well, there's tons of people out there that know way more than I do. I don't know who said it, but somebody says the smarter you are, the more you found out how dumb you really are, right? And it's a fact. You should be inquisitive in learning. And I refused, back then and even now that they're adults, there are certain things that I just refuse to let my children go along with in this world without me telling them. Now, some may have said I told them too much. But I refused. I absolutely refused to let them go without knowing. And so I told them some things, about life in general, about my life, about society in general, at an age where they might not have been, according to society standards, ready to hear it, but I felt like they were, and they were. And they appreciate me now for that.
Let's go there. Let's piggyback off of that, because Luke 12:53 says, they will be divided. Father against son, and son against father. Mother against daughter, and daughter against mother. It's a sobering reminder that even when you have the closest bond, kids, conflict can still arise. Especially when that word we talked about earlier, values, identity, and expectations collide. So your parents may tell you things that they feel like you need to hear. They may share things, life experiences with you, but that doesn't mean that you guys, your worlds won't collide sometimes. Trust us, they will. Your values may differ, especially as culturally when we are in a AI society. For a lot of parents, this is a world they couldn't have never imagined entering into, whereas you have every single piece of everything you want to ask at a thumbprint. But remember, that's technology. And even though there are humans that help to speed up that process, it still is in a way taking a bulk of information and not necessarily individual information. Okay, you can be in the same space, you can look like your dad, you can talk like your dad, you can look like your mom, you can act like, but you're still your own individual.
And it's okay. You're not a robot.
Absolutely. And so let me ask you this, sis, when we get to the emotional and relational tensions, tell me quickly, where do you think disrespect could look like in the home for some children that causes them to be quiet or be sarcastic or even be defiant?
Well, I can tell you, not a kid, but just in thinking about, when I was a kid, I could see now, and again, this is pulling from social media because y'all post everything, and I appreciate it because some of it is educational.
This motivated me from social media too.
So I've seen posts, and it's done in a joking way, but I'm pretty sure it's accurate, where you took the iPad from the kid and told them to go outside and play. And they thought that was the worst thing that you could have ever done. They felt like it was disrespectful. Their lives are over. May have called you some names under their breaths, and some of the kids nowadays are bold enough to say it out loud, because why would you do that to me? I've had that since I was 2, which is another conversation on another day. But why would you take this is my security blanket?
Yes. It's almost like it's their safe space.
It's their safe space. Yeah. And you make me go out there, which I don't do.
Yeah.
So that can translate as a kid that you don't care about what I need.
Yeah.
You don't care about what I want. You don't care about me at all, because I hate that out there. Now, on the flip side of the parent, it's like, I'm trying to correct what I've done. I've created this and I'm trying to fix it. Let me fix it in the way that I think I should go outside. Because why? That's what we did. Now, yeah, you do need to. But have a conversation. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
It is unhealthy. And kids nowadays, they like facts. Bring them the facts. Why it's unhealthy for them to spend that much time in front of an iPad all day. Give them the facts because that's what they know.
Yeah.
Right?
Not realizing going outside gives you your vitamin D.
Right. That's what I mean. Give them the facts on the pros and the cons of each.
Yeah.
Here's why staying on the iPad all day is detrimental to you. Here's the benefit of going outside. And because we put this technology in front of these kids at a young age. Now, again, I told you earlier, I'm not a hypocrite. I work at a telecommunications company. Thank you for keeping me gainfully employed. However, putting an iPad at a 2-year-old who's not old enough to know anything about it, as they get older, you're going to have to sit down and explain to them numbers, facts. This is the detriment of. This is the good part.
Yeah.
These are the pros and cons of each. Okay, we're going to divide this time, go outside and get healthy with vitamin D.
Yes, I say it all the time.
And-
train them up in
Yeah.
the way they should go.
Yeah.
Y'all, that is not a cliche.
It's not.
If you don't train them, why are you surprised? Kids, if your parents are not training you, that may be why you're frustrated and
Yes,
aggravated.
because you don't know and they don't know. So,
Absolutely. And I think sometimes what happens is that that's probably why kids may be a little bit more deeper in their anger than
yeah.
parents realize.
oh yeah, they're very angry, and unfortunately, social media is giving them every outlet to express that anger, except the right one.
Yeah.
Right? When you look at kids, look at the suicide rate for adolescents, and a lot of the violence that's perpetuated out there, and all those types of things that we, it just breaks our hearts when we hear. You got to do the background on that. Yeah. They get these things from the people that are around them. Right? And because everybody, your whole life, the revolution is being televised. I say that all the time now. Everything is on social. I don't need to know you went to the restaurant and washed your hands and then didn't use soap and then
I don't care.
I don't care, right? But I really don't care. But they see all of those things without any parental controls on that. And so that's what they've learned from versus the time they should be spending with you, and you taking all of that, because that's a lot for a kid. That's a lot for a 50-year-old. And say, okay, this is the reality. This is entertainment. This is what this meant. And limiting that, that usage, but making sure they understand what's going on. So when they are angry, when they are depressed, when they're sad, when they're mad, they understand what's a healthy outlet for that. Is it going to always be mom and dad? No. But mom and dad should be in there.
Right.
My opinion is that we ought to be number one in there, but we may not be.
You might not.
But I need to be 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm number 3. Sometimes it's TT first, and then their nana or their granddad, and then me. That's fine. Just get it out in a healthy space, and it could be your best friend.
Yeah.
As long as your best friend, is is not telling you to do something you have no business doing.
Well, now, and kids, let me encourage you on this. If you do decide to choose to talk to someone outside of your parents, I think one of the places that could help your parents feel can help maybe to not necessarily, well, can help them to understand why you feel like they should talk to someone else.
Right.
Maybe keep them kind of clued in a little bit. They might not like it. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to like it because, as a parent, you want your children to be able to come to you. But at the same time, make sure that you're not using that mentor as a replacement.
Correct.
Please understand, if you are speaking to someone who is telling you everything you want to hear and not everything that you may need to hear, then what that person is, that's not creating a safe space for you. That's just telling you what you want to hear. And that's not going to get you anywhere because at the end of the day, you are being raised in your parents' home. And if you choose to leave the protection of your parents' home, at some point, either in an adulthood, trust me, you're still going to have to come back to that place. Yes. There are so many times, so many people, I know that we're in this unforgiving society, but I'm so sorry. Sometimes you're going to have to forgive and you're going to have to ask for forgiveness and you're going to have to give forgiveness. And so that's one of the things that can kind of curb that generational disconnect. Those moments and those memories and how you feel, I cannot stress that enough in this episode, they do stay with you.
Yes.
And you can find yourself at 30, 40, 50, 60 still trying to understand why you are having feelings towards your parents or emotions that you didn't deal with. And I'm talking about when you're 5 and 6 years old.
Right.
So it doesn't go away. So before we get to the last part of the episode, I want to talk a little bit about some solutions for generational disconnect.
Okay.
because it's important.
It is.
You know, you said earlier in the show, we are different spaces, different places. We do things differently. Just because our generation went outside and played, their generation is staying in gaming. You know, we hated coming in the house.
Oh,
When the
punishment.
street light,
It was a punishment.
oh my goodness, you know. But we got to deal with it. So how do you think, or what would you say to a child who strictly feels unheard?
Yeah.
Their parents aren't listening, they're not receiving what they're saying. What is some wisdom you can give to kind of from how can they connect to try to have that conversation?
Yeah, because it's extremely important. Let me say this: you have to have the conversation with your parents. Now, we're not saying that you don't talk to anybody else. If you have a school counselor, guidance counselor, anything like that, they are available for that. So please talk to someone. And if it's an extreme situation where you don't feel safe, like physically safe to talk to your parents, then you do need to go talk to a school counselor so that you can express that, and maybe they need to be the one to help you talk to your parents in that case. But if that's not, the case, I would say, and I'm going to use the tips that I see on, what is it, TikTok?
Yeah.
Y'all don't know. We love to dance. Our generation loves to dance. And so I love to see the parent-children dance videos. Love it, because it's so cute, because y'all think we can't dance and y'all get all your moves from us. Y'all just don't know it. And so use that. Take something that you love and invite your parents to it, right? My kids are grown now. They're almost 30, but there are certain things that we love to do. Like, they taught me how to play pool. They love to play pool. We play pool together. Bowling, tennis, taught them how to play tennis, and they will beat the bricks off me when we play now. Find something that you love. If it's gaming, now my eyes are bad, so yeah, you can have that. But if it's gaming, like, y'all don't know, but we had video games. Now, they weren't 3-dimensional and 4K like yours, but we had Nintendo. We had, those types of things. Challenge your parents to a game, and in that space, open that door, because guess what? We love fun too.
Yeah.
Right? We hate working and paying bills, but we got to do it to take care of our families. Find something that you love and go in and challenge them. We love competition. Our generation competed on everything. It's something you love, teach them how to play, make it fun, and then that builds the space for you to say, hey, Mom. And at the same time, parents, be open if they come in and say, hey, Mom, you want to play this game? Girl, go on. Don't do that. Be open. It's a reason. If they've never come to ask you before to participate in their space, there's a reason for that. Don't turn them down. Take that time, because you never know. That could be the moment that they're expressing their hearts to you, and that kids, that can be the moment that you have to express, your heart to your parent. And then be open and honest about it. Don't hold it back, because for me, when I get really serious about something, tears come. Now, depending on what that is either I'm ready to fight or I'm super hurt. But be open enough so that your parents can see how real this is to you, and don't hide anything. Just say it in a way where your tone is, they consider it respectful. And then if you feel like you cannot say it in what they think is a respectful way, because your parents, ask somebody to come with you. She's the mediator for my kids. She just, have a third party there, so.
Absolutely. Now, on this next one, I want you to take off your parent hat.
Okay.
Because I had to take off my adult hat on this one. How can we help children respond when their parents challenge what they believe? We are in a society where the way relationships looks to them is not what they looked like before.
Yeah.
Dating is different. Their spiritual beliefs are different. How can we encourage them, again, to respond to their parents when their beliefs are different?
Well,
a practical way.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be, that, in my opinion, one of the toughest conversations, that they'll ever have with their parents, right? And that's not something you can just jump and do.
No.
Right? That's going to take some thought, some process, and the rules are still the same. You may need to reach out to, even if a counselor, if you need to, a trusted family member, whatever that is, to kind of get in that space and see how you're going to get in that space. But before any of that happens, I need, and it's a dual partnership, just like she knows it's hard for me to take off my parent hat, so I'm going to put it on and throw it back off. We have to be able to do this, and we don't. You have to do it as well. You have to forgive your parents for not knowing what you know, because you do know a lot in certain subjects, right? Yeah. More than we do. Forgive them for not being raised at the time that you were raised in, and know that because everything is open now, please know that it was not back then, right? So before you begin anything, you're going to have to understand that's not how they were raised.
Right.
Okay, before you even bridge the conversation. And then in some situations, you know if you really know your parents, you're going to have to be okay with their response and whatever it is.
Absolutely.
As long as you know they still love you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Whether you agree with it or not.
Whether you agree with it or not. Speaking, from experience, it's not okay with you, because I know you want your parents' approval. We want our parents' love. We want all of that. Just because they don't agree with a chosen lifestyle or a habit or a hobby does not mean they don't love you.
And doesn't make them a bad person.
It does not. It just means they don't agree with this thing.
Right.
That doesn't mean they hate everything about you, because let me release some pressure off of you. That's not the only thing about you.
Yeah.
That's one thing. You have a million different things in you, right? Because you have billions of cells, right? That's one thing.
Right.
So the same way you don't want them to throw you away for that one thing, don't throw yourself away or them for that one thing. That's just one thing. I would be nervous, honestly, if I agree with everything that my two do.
Me too.
Something is wrong.
Yeah.
If I agree with everything that my
There's
two
no
do,
growth.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So allow that. That's just one thing.
Yeah.
Right. And parents on the other side of that, that's just one thing.
Yeah.
And communicate that.
Absolutely.
On this thing, I don't agree, but I still love you.
Yeah.
And then from there, move on.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
grow.
that's one of the things. So I think we're too hard on each other.
We are.
I think as kids, we're too hard on our parents, but I think parents sometimes are too hard on their kids.
I agree.
And I think that, again, going back to what we talked about, you got to have your safe space. And you got to be able to put on your big boy and your big girl underwear, and you got to come into it like you don't know it all.
Because you don't.
And you can learn from each other, and I think that's something that, my opinion, you know what I always say, my opinion. I feel like that's how we have devalued ourselves in our community by assuming that, one, we can't talk to each other, and two, we can't come to the table and have conversation. One of my favorite things is, listen, today we just gonna have to agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
And that's
okay. That's life.
It is. So I want to share with you guys some healing tips, kids, for you to speak to your parents. My number one thing, some of y'all need to hulk down. Y'all need to calm down. You need to take a deep breath. You do not know it all. Remember, respectfully and honor. A lot of you are still living under your parents' household. It doesn't mean that you don't have a space to speak freely, but I'm going to sound a little old school. You're not paying the bills yet. Okay? And so there is some honor that your parents deserve. So I'm going to encourage you, before you approach your parents, I want you to sit with your feelings. Why are you ready to go at your parents? What are you upset about? Is this things that you've allowed to fester, and your mom or your dad said that one thing and now you're ready to go off? So make sure, sit with it. You don't know if mom or dad has had a bad day at work. You don't know if they're at the last of the money to pay the mortgage, the rent, the car note. They trying to figure it all in their spaces. And listen, don't just think only single parents have these feelings.
Right.
Two-parent households have to deal with these exact same struggles. And so definitely keep that in mind. And then ask yourself, what am I mad about? What am I angry about? What did they disappoint me about? Did I ask them to go somewhere and they said no? Because I promise you, when you sit with your feelings, you might say to yourself, well, maybe they didn't have the money for me to go.
And just didn't know how to tell you.
Just didn't know how to tell you. And so another thing that you can do, I am a stickler about writing. Most of you guys know I am a writer. Start journaling. And as you journal, I want to encourage a lot of you guys, get on your knees and pray. It ain't got to be deep. Lord, listen, I need to talk to my mama. I need to talk to my daddy, but I'm going to set it off. Can you help me calm down? And then get your journal. Why? The last time I went to talk to my mom and dad about something, and this is how they responded. And then this is how I respond. Write it down. You can untangle your emotions just by releasing your words. And then when you go in to talk, it won't come out as pointing fingers. Use the I feel statements. I told your parents this exact same thing on another episode. And so I'm challenging you with it. Instead of accusing your parents by saying, oh my God, you don't never listen to me. I said it a lot as a child. Start to speak from your experience at that moment. Okay? I feel unseen when my voice doesn't matter. I feel hurt when my choices are dismissed. So you're seeing, you're telling them how you feel, but you're telling them why. And you're not leaving them to assume. This helps your parents to have more of your heart, but not just your frustration. I'm going to tell you, anchor yourself in Scripture. Proverbs 15:1 says, a soft answer turns away wrath. So sometimes in these conversations, even if you don't want to, your gentleness will guide the conversation, and it helps you, again, to honor your mother and your father. You're not speaking to win. You're looking to speak to connect. And there is a difference.
That's good.
Write it first when speaking is hard. I'm going to preach that over and over and over again. If emotions feel overwhelming, write them a letter. Share your thoughts with honesty, but still be kind. This allows you and your parents to process without being defensive. If you have to write the letter on the weekend that you're planning to go spend time with your grandparents or your aunts and uncles, do it. Leave the letter there before you leave. Y'all got cell phones now. Text your mama, daddy, hey, I left that letter. Can you read that over the weekend? And then that gives your parents enough time to process it over the weekend so they can be prepared when you get back home. This is going to be a biggie. Ask for a conversation and not a confrontation, okay? Because some of your parents, if you don't come to them to write down, some of y'all going to jump up to get beat down.
Fact.
And I ain't being funny.
Fact.
Not physically, but possibly in your words. Right. Because now there was this song when we were growing up, for the 9 months I carried you.
No
all inside of me. See, them parents going to start thinking about a lot of things they've done to get you where you are today. So don't come to them with confrontation. Right. Come to them asking for a conversation. And then some of y'all need to give your parents some grace. You ain't always did what you're supposed to be doing. A lot of you guys are kinder to your friends than you are your parents. A lot of you are sometimes a little bit more loving to other people than you are your parents. We have a situation in this world today where it could be easy to be angry and deflated and mad at the person that was not there, whether it be your mom not in the household when you were growing up or your dad not in the household. Doesn't mean that you have a space to still not show them grace. Right. You ain't got to like them, but you got to show them grace. All right? Because what you want to see, sometimes you got to be willing to put it out into the world yourself.
That's right.
I'm going to ask you guys, pray for courage and clarity. You can ask God to guide your words. Y'all don't know how many times I have gotten ready to teach the Sunday school lessons, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Lord, you better help me, because on this particular subject, I need you to take Monica out of the way so I won't go off when I'm teaching them, because it don't make no sense to me. Well, I got to keep babysitting them. It's not babysitting, but I need wisdom to give it to you the way you need to be able to hear it, which was no different than how we prepare for this episode. Oh, trust me, we had strong opinions coming into this.
Absolutely.
And we even had to put ourselves in a space of being a child again. But you got to remember, there's no excuse to the pain. But pain can come on both sides. Mm-hmm. But you got to open the door for compassion, affirmation, patience, and I say it all the time. Your parents need love just like you do.
That's right.
And so my closing word for you guys as we close this episode out, I want you to know God's word is not a cliche. It's not just verses from a greeting card. It is a living, breathing guide to help you in moments like this. The ones that hurt the most, the ones that confuse you, the ones who live distant and respect feels broken. That may be your parents, but they're still your parents. And when emotions run high and grace runs low, it's easy to think the Bible is just a cliche,
Right.
that it's too hard to follow it, that you can just go on social media and figure it out. But the holy things are what stretch you. They call you higher, but it's also going to call you inward as well. Scripture doesn't point fingers. It points you to where you need to be. It teaches you how to speak to your parents in love, how to listen to your parents with patience, and most importantly, how to honor your mother and your father even when they're getting on your last good nerves. So I want you to walk away from this episode. Don't just carry hurt. Carry healing. Open the word and let it be a bridge and not just another childhood broken moment. Thank y'all so much for joining us on this episode. Anybody ever told you need to be a counselor, or you need to start doing something? You are very good.
Everybody says that.
Yes. Thank you for the feedback. I saw that laughter. Guys, I will see you on the next episode of Monica Mentors. Be blessed.